What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for week 11 of the Premier League predictions. And again, I just want to say a massive thank you because we reached 18,000 subscribers. We reached 18,100 subscribers and we're well on the way to 20,000 by the end of the year. So if you are new around here, I know that the majority of people watching this video aren't actually subscribed. Please do subscribe down below so you don't miss any predictions or tips of the best football in the world. Now, last week, it was a decent week considering how many shock results there were. We had Manchester United to beat Tottenham, West Ham to win and both teams to score, Chelsea to win 3-0, Leeds to win 2-1. It's the first time on this channel this season I've predicted Norwich to score a goal, and we got it bang on correct. So I was very happy with that and some of the tips that we offered there. Now it is time for week 11, and there's some cracking fixtures to be had. So let's delay no further. Leave your predictions down in the comments. I read them all. Let's get to it. Kicking it off, we do have Southampton up against Aston Villa, and this has to be one of the most difficult fixtures to predict of the entire weekend. I might even change my first prediction. I realize if I don't, I've only got one draw out of the 10 fixtures, and that's just probably not going to happen, so I'm going to change it. But the first game, it is Southampton up against Aston Villa, and I initially went for a Southampton 2-1 win, but Southampton have drawn a lot of games this season, and you never know what you're going to get with the Saints or with Aston Villa. They've both been so unpredictable. Aston Villa, earlier on in the season, have had some really good performances, and Southampton more recently have been starting to string some results together, so I have no idea how this one's going to go. I'll be kicking myself if it remains a Southampton win and I've changed it to a draw, but I'm going to go for the 1-1 draw and say that Aston Villa will just be grateful to get something given that they've lost quite a few of their recent matches. But my tip, it was a very difficult one to predict. I didn't want to go with both teams to score. I'm going to go with the half with the most goals to be the second half at 2.0. And genuinely, it was really difficult to find a tip for this one. I didn't think about going for the result market. The goal market also scared me. The both teams to score market isn't certain. So I honestly had no idea. So I think this is going to be a very tough game to predict. I would stay away from this one. It's Friday night football. You never know. So I'm going to go for the 1-1 draw. Despite initially thinking a Southampton win, I'll go for the 1-1 draw. But the next fixture, it is the Saturday lunchtime kickoff, the Manchester derby. Man United up against Manchester City. Now, this one's going to be very, very interesting. City aren't quite firing on all cylinders as you'd expect. And Manchester United, they're a little bit all over the place, or a bit all over the place. It's going to be a very close game, I think. You know, I predicted the derby between Manchester United and Liverpool would be a convincing win to Liverpool, and I was spot on. This one, I don't think it is going to be particularly convincing for either side. However, I am going to side with Manchester City. I think you can't say that Man United won't score with the attacking talents that they've got on the field. I think they are good for a goal. But Manchester City, they're just coming off the loss of a 2-0 game against Crystal Palace, and that is an unbelievable result for Crystal Palace. Of course, we can talk about that later. I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win to Manchester City. I don't see this being absolutely catastrophic. I think it'll be just the kind of loss that for some reason keeps Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a job. It's really weird to say that a loss will keep him in the job, but it'll be that kind of close loss where Man United have their chances, but overall the better quality of City will see them pull through in the end, and it means he'll keep his job, even though I don't think he doesn't deserve the job, in my opinion. So I'm going to go for the 2-1 win to Manchester City, and my tip is going to be Man City to win and over 1.5 goals at 2.0, just in case it is a 2-0 win to Manchester City. That's the reason I've really kind of put that tip in there, but added a bit of value by saying it won't be a 1-0 win. Now, after this, we have Brentford up against Norwich. Norwich floundering, still on 2 points, losing to Leeds, who are having a terrible season, exactly as I predicted, 2-1, and Brentford getting dismantled by Burnley at Turf Moor, largely thanks to Maxwell Cornet and hit the cracking season he is having. I see Brentford bouncing back here. After back-to-back losses in the Premier League, you could argue some of them they were a little bit unlucky, but overall, it's a results game and they need one here, and the best place and time to do that is at home to Norwich. So I'm going to give Norwich a goal again. I think given Brentford's little blip in form, Norwich will definitely see this as a game that they can take something from. Obviously, they won the championship last year and Brentford came third. So Norwich will believe that they can get something from this game. And it was that same belief that made me give them a goal last week against Leeds. I'm going to give them a goal against Brentford here, but I'm saying that the Bees will win 2-1. And my tip is both teams to score at 2. The value for that is crazy. I thought Norwich would score last week. I think they can score this week given Brentford's shaky form. But I'm going to go for Brentford to win 2-1 because the odds for Brentford to win were far lower. They're like 1.5, 1.6. I think both teams to score is a better shout. And it means if it is a 1-1 draw, it still comes in. I think Brentford will score, and I think Norwich will have to go for it. They're on 2 points, for crying out loud. Now, after that, we have Chelsea up against Burnley. I was considering Chelsea to win and both teams to score here. Burnley off the back of scoring 3 for the first time in goodness knows how long, and they do have that new lease of life with Cornet up front as well, or wherever he plays. I'm not actually sure the exact position, but he's always scoring goals. So I was considering giving Burnley a goal, but I think about Chelsea. They don't concede many goals at all, and I'm gonna say they'll win 2-0. I think the defense is just absolutely phenomenal, and not only the defense, the back line, but Mendy in goal as well. It's another added insurance policy, and I think, you know, Burnley, Brentford, they can get at Brentford, but Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is a totally different proposition. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Chelsea, but in case Burnley do score, I still think Chelsea will be able to score 3, and that would be 3-1. So my tip is going to encompass both those outcomes. Chelsea to win at -1 handicap at 1.8. I think that's pretty good. I could very, very easily see this being 2-0. But I don't see this being 1-0 or 2-1. I think Chelsea win by more than a goal. So I'm going to go for the Chelsea -1 at 1.8. Now, after that, we have Crystal Palace up against Wolves. Fantastic victories for both of these teams. Crystal Palace beating Manchester City 2-0 and Wolves beating Everton 2-1. Wolves are finding their shooting boots, as are Crystal Palace. I think this is actually going to be a high-scoring game. Typically, between these two teams, it's not often that high-scoring, but Palace have that new lease of life. Wolves have been scoring goals, so I'm going to combine the two. I'm actually going to say a 2-2 draw. I think Palace have looked great this season, but they've been struggling to turn a lot of their good performances into wins. And I think Wolves will have enough to get a draw from Crystal Palace, because overall, I think the Wolves squad is slightly better, and that is reflected on the recent finishes in the Premier League in the last few seasons. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw, and my tip at 1.95 is both teams to score. I could see this ending 1-1. It could be 2-1 either way, so I think both teams to score is a fairly good shout there. After that, we have Brighton up against Newcastle at the Amex, and I don't see it getting any better for Newcastle at this very moment in time. I think Brighton have been very, very good defensively this season. They do have a couple of goals in them. Obviously, they scored twice against Liverpool, and I do think they can score a couple here at the Amex. I think it's finally going to click for them, and it's going to be a dominant performance. I could see this being Brighton having like a 4 or 5 XG, but not living up to that amount. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Brighton, and my tip is Brighton to win and under 3.5 goals at 2.25, just because Newcastle could score. It could be 2-1, but 3-1 to Brighton in my head just doesn't make sense as a scoreline. I think 1-2, 3-0, 2-1 basically encompasses all the results I can see in my head. You know, obviously it could be a draw, but I'm going to go for the Brighton win. Now, after that, we have Arsenal up against Watford, and Arsenal, they're absolutely flying. What a performance against Leicester City, winning 2-0. I mean, that was brilliant. Aaron Ramsdale, of course, you've heard what everyone's had to say about him. It was a brilliant performance, and I think Arsenal are going to win this one. I'm going to give Watford a goal, given how, threatening they've looked on the attack in the last couple of games. They obviously put 5 past Everton, so that was really the only one. They should have scored a goal against Southampton, but they couldn't. But I'm going to give them a goal against Arsenal, but I think Arsenal will be much too strong for them, given the form they're in, the belief that the squad has, and the back line looks very good. And in case Watford don't score, I think that lends itself even better to this tip. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Arsenal, but my tip is going to be Arsenal half-time, Arsenal full-time. The last few times when they've had, think of the great performances Arsenal have had this season. Beating Leicester 2-0, beating Tottenham 3-1. Those are the two that spring to mind. Beating good teams, well, Tottenham aren't that good, but, beating good teams and coming out the blocks a million miles an hour and just shocking them. Scoring early goals and then holding on to that lead, controlling the game, basically. So I think Arsenal are going to come out the blocks flying again and get a very quick early lead in the first half an hour. And that lends itself to being up at halftime and then winning the game. So 3-1 to Arsenal. Arsenal halftime, full-time at 2.1. I think that is very, very good. Now, after this, we have Everton up against Tottenham. Antonio Conte is back in the Premier League, and it is going to be an interesting one. Very difficult to predict. I think with Everton's injury problems and how woeful Tottenham were against Manchester United, it's the perfect storm and lends itself well to an Antonio Conte win coming back to the Premier League. So I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Tottenham, but my tip is not going to be in the result market in any way, shape or form. Everton could win this one 4-1. They just could. So my tip is going to be both teams to score at 1.8 or Heung-min Son to score at 3.4. This might be a hot take. I don't know. I think Heung-min Son is Tottenham's best player right now, and I think he's their most important player. And even at the beginning of the season, when they got their 9 points from 9, winning 1-0, Heung-min Son was the key to all of that. He looked like the only one who could possibly score against Manchester United, and I think Heung-min Son is due a goal in this game. So Son to score at 3.4, I think that value is very, very good, given that he's pretty much their only attacking avenue, given how terrible Harry Kane has been. So both teams to score, Heung-min Son to score. I think Tottenham might win, but I wouldn't bet on Tottenham winning, that's for sure. Now after that, we have Leeds up against Leicester. Leeds taking the lead against Norwich, then conceding an equaliser, then scoring again, all within 5 minutes to encompass the perfect 2-1 score prediction. And Leicester, to be fair, they were not good against Arsenal in the first half an hour, but if it weren't for Ramsdale and the great performance that Gabriel and Benjamin White had, the defenders and everything, Leicester could have had a couple of goals. They looked pretty good in the second half, even if they didn't score. So I think Arsenal deserved the win, but I think Leicester were unlucky not to get on the score sheet. So I think Leicester are going to bounce back and win this one. Leeds haven't looked great this season. They've got their win against Norwich. So I'm going to go for a Leicester win, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to the Foxes. And my tip is Leicester to win at 2.37. We don't need to look at goals. I think there could be a lot of goals, but the Leicester result at 2.37, it could be a 1-0, 2-0. I think that's brilliant value, so I'm going to side with Leicester on this one. Now, the final game, very, very difficult to predict. West Ham up against Liverpool. Now, West Ham are playing in the Europa League, I believe, in midweek. I don't know how that's gone. It hasn't happened yet. And Liverpool are playing in the Champions League. Again, I don't know how that's gone. It also hasn't happened yet. Jurgen Klopp does like to rotate his squad in the Champions League, so I think he'll have an eye on this West Ham game and maybe leave out a couple of players. But I do think Liverpool are going to win this one. West Ham don't have a great record, if I'm not mistaken, after Europa League football the weekend after, and playing Liverpool is not going to help with that record. However, they've looked really, really good. Declan Rice, Fornals, Mikel Antonio, of course, Souček as always. I think they're a brilliant team. I can see them scoring a couple. Brighton managed to do it. I think West Ham are going to score twice, but I'm going to go for a Liverpool win, 3-2. I think it's possible West Ham only score 1. I think Liverpool should win this game, so my tip is going to be Liverpool to win and both teams to score at 2.87. I don't see West Ham drawing a blank at the London Stadium. Absolutely not. However, I think Liverpool are going to be good enough on this occasion to get the win. It's fortunate for them that West Ham will have a day less rest, and I think it all lends itself well to a very entertaining Liverpool win. So that just about does it for the Week 11 predictions of the Premier League. We are going to be taking a 2-week hiatus from the channel. It's not at the stage at all where I'm going to be doing international fixture predictions. I'm just going to take the time off the channel, and we'll be back with the Premier League predictions for Week 12 in 2 weeks. So be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss another video. We'll have Champions League, Premier League, and then as the European competitions progress, we'll do Europa League. I highly doubt I'll be doing Conference League, but maybe we will. You never know. That is going to do it from me. Drop a like, leave your predictions in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video in a couple of weeks.